Hello. Today I'll be talking about chapter 8, which is basically physical, cognitive, and developmental changes. If you do see me looking at the screen, I'm looking at my notes. So, let's get started. So, my name is Dariana Moten, and I am a social work major, an upcoming junior at MSU, and a minor in cognitive and developmental sciences. And I was assigned chapter 8. So to begin with, let's talk about physical challenges. So a physical challenge is basically anything that can just limit your ability and for like one of the three basic like activities and stuff like that. So that's anything that can limit, for example, anything that can limit eyesight, movement, or hearing. So people who have an hearing aid or visual impairments, and like for example, my boyfriend, he has something wrong with his eye, that's a physical ability. Or like people who have a cane, like elderly, they have physical abilities because most likely they need somebody to help them get around. And then we have the neurological impairment, and that's impairments with like your brain. So examples of that will be something that blocks the cognitive process. So for example, schizophrenia, dyslexia, when people see words backwards and they need help reading, and then a lot in elderly people, dementia. And also, the last and the third one of the challenges we'll be speaking about is developmental challenge. That happens before the age of 22. And for example, me myself, I have a transplant, and that is a developmental challenge because it comes with its side effects. And then people who have like autism, people who have fetal syndrome, when people with the mothers drink when they are pregnant. And I also wanted to bring up something as the show The Good Doctor. He has autism and he's a doctor, so that's a great show to get into if you haven't. And then, so now we're going to talk about barriers and social inequalities. Many people with these challenges, they face discrimination, and I'll be talking about The Good Doctor again because in the show he faces challenges such as being a doctor. Many people don't want him operating on him due to having these inequalities, and discrimination can be very, very it can have a very harsh impact. It can cause depression. It can cause lack of self-motivation, like we discussed in the previous chapter, due to all the stigmas. And the stigma is like a stereotype, because in discrimination we do have like against disabilities, and really they do have like the stereotype is, oh, they're on disability just trying to get money out of the system. In the system I'm referring to like unemployment and like government funds, or like they really don't have a disability, they can really go to work like any of us, or they're helpless, or they're no good for the economy. A lot of people do say that, and I do hear a lot of people say that, just because when you're not actively looking for funds, you're not considered in the working force of unemployment. And so therefore it's like a mediator factor which like affects us, and really we pay for it in our taxes. But if you think about it, on the other hand, these people with disabilities, they didn't ask to have disabilities. So the stigma and the stereotype is not true, because a lot of people really need these disabilities and need these government funds to help. And also people, it can cause repulsive adversaries and tragedies that people think, oh, disabilities happen from tragedies such as car accidents and stuff like that. That is also true. And these other people, these people, it does, again, I want to bring up cause depression, because think about it. Like, let's say you run marathons and you get in a car accident. Now, guess what? You can't run marathons anymore, and so that causes depression. Definitely, when you can't be independent and you're known to being independent, it's really like something in somebody's life where it can cause very mental issues and they need additional help. And these people who also have disabilities, another barrier is like they need help. They really cannot live independently, because when living independently, they might struggle. And a lot of these people, like, let's bring up elderly people again. When you're elderly, you do live in homes, you need help. You need help getting to the toilet, getting from and to the toilet. And like, that is what social workers all are, to get these people and to get them the help they need. And let's see, what's the next little bullet point I have? Oh, okay, so the difference between categorical changes, again, like I said, are the changes that, like, say you get in that car accident and you're not able to walk anymore, and then this causes other problems like depression and cognitive changes and lack of motivation, that causes more eccentric, I'm not sure if I said that right, eccentric factors that you also need help for. So categorical challenges are basically events that happen or disabilities that happen that cause more things. And what I think there's functional challenges as well. Yeah, functional challenges is basically disabilities that cause functional challenges, so that limits your ability to function. So like, you get in that car accident, you can no longer run and walk, and or you might be on a cane, or you might have a disability from a fake leg, and you might need help with that and resources to reach out to help you with that, like treatment centers and groups where you sit in and you talk and you discuss your feelings. So that is enough on categories. So let's get to the histories and policies. So the history and policies, let's just say, I'm going to start off by saying, if you on Netflix, there's a movie called Benjamin Buttons, and it talks about how he was in the beginning of the movie. I feel like it's relevant because it talks about how, like, he had these challenges, and he was born basically like of the face of an old man, and his own father did not want him, and his own mother, when he was born, and the nurses in the room knew, like, okay, this child is not a normal child, and did not want him and gave him up. So that is basically a good representation of like what happened back in the day. Like, these people were considered at one point in time, they were considered crazy, and they, let's see what I said, idiotic. It said crazy, idiotic, and insane, and nobody wanted them. So for that child, Benjamin, he was given up. Nobody wanted these kids back in the day. These mothers who had these kids were also punished because it was so, like, not accepted. It was not in the norms at all. So the mothers who, like, say you drunk and you have fetal syndrome or whatever, the mothers were sent to jail, and they were treated in such harsh conditions that would be deemed like illegal nowadays. Like, they were not fed and they were beaten, these mothers were, and then the kids, some of these kids were even kept themselves. They had lack of nutrition, they were beaten, nobody wanted them. It was very hard for these kids. They were basically just like one of those stigmas that I just talked about, like something like people did not want, like you're no good for our society. That's basically how they view these people. And it's just like, wow, just like me having like a liver transplant, like, I'm just like, if I was in that predicament, I couldn't imagine going through these conditions, because like, I don't know, like, it would really, like, you just got to think about all the strain. Like, I'm being beaten for something I didn't ask for when I was born, and something that can ultimately be worked on. So unmarried women were also sent to these prisons as well. And these kids, again, they were beaten, like, very malnutrition, and they had harsh conditions, and sometimes chained, and they were sometimes naked, and it was just everything that's just unethical nowadays. And then some of these facilities were not even heated, so just just imagine the death rate. You have all these mental abilities, and now you're being unheated, you're being malnutrition, not being fed enough food, all of these different things that's put together. You just imagine the death rate and the living conditions of this. So these children were ignored in history. So, and then in the 18th century, that's when all the malnutrition happened. And then soon enough, I did a little extra research on this because it was interesting. Soon enough, it said in 1990, the ACA, American Disabilities Act, was informed. And I also realized during this time of the 1900s, that's when it was more accepted. It was just becoming illegal, and not legal, but ethical, and okay, these are actually humans. So then in 1948, the National Institute of Mental Health was established. In 1963, President Kennedy organized research disability. Whew, go President Kennedy. And then also, I also read that in the Civil Rights Act, they also vouched for people with disabilities to be treated equally as well. And I think that's just a great thing to like basically do, because like, oh, okay, you vouched for me, I'll vouch for you, even like. And I feel like that was great because they weren't just marching for Black people, but they were marching for everybody who was not treated equality. And then to 1965 to 1990s, people with mental institutions were released. It was better immigration into the community, and they lost 60% of their people. So yeah, that was great as well. Let's see, any other notes that I write on that? Yep. And then I just want to establish, like, I just want to also bring to account like the change we had. Sorry guys, that's my dog. But I just want to bring the change we had from, think about it, from there to now. Like, I want to bring the 20th century. The 20th century today, we have, for example, me, myself, we have accommodations in universities. We have help and resources for these people with disabilities. We have so many resources that help